Good evening and welcome to the 7 o'clock evening news. I'm John Shelton. We begin with the main headlines. Kuwait condemns the terrorist bomb attack in the Bahraini village of Karana, which took place last night and injured 2 policemen. Clashes between Yemeni security forces and armed groups in the south of the country killed 29 people, mostly security forces. A spokesman for the Egyptian Ministry of Health says at least 12 workers were killed when their bus plunged into a canal west of Cairo. And troops from Niger and Chad discover a mass grave with more than 70 decomposed bodies near a northern Nigerian town recently retaken from the militant group Boko Haram. His Highness the Emir Sheikh Sabah Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah sent a cable of congratulations to His Excellency the President of Namibia, Hifikepunye Mohamba, on the occasion of his country's National Day. His Highness the Crown Prince Sheikh Naif Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah sent a cable of congratulations to His Excellency the President of Namibia on the occasion of his country's National Day. His Highness Sheikh Jaber Al Mubarak Al Hamad Al Sabah, the Prime Minister, also sent a similar cable. Kuwait strongly condemned the terrorist bomb attack in the Bahraini village of Karana, which took place last night and injured 2 policemen. A foreign ministry source told Kuwait news agency that these terrorist attacks, which contradict the moderate directives of Islam and rejected by all moral and human values, aim at destabilizing Bahrain's security and terrorizing its people. He added that these cowardly acts would not succeed in undermining the security and stability of Bahrain. The source reaffirmed Kuwait's solid rejection of terrorism and violence, regardless of their motives, calling on the international community to double its efforts to rid the world from these evil deeds. Kuwait is following up with concern the tragic developments in Yemen caused by escalation of hostilities and attacks on places of worship. The southern city of Aden has been exposed to airstrike which targeted the presidential palace and the airport, coupled with attacks against 2 mosques in Sana'a that killed and wounded hundreds of people. In a statement to Kuwait news agency, a foreign ministry source expressed confidence that the Yemeni people who prevented the country from sliding into a civil war during the past 4 years are capable of overcoming these difficult circumstances. He strongly condemned the terrorist attacks that aimed at undermining Yemen's security and stability and reaffirmed Kuwait's support to the legitimate president, Abd Rabbu Mansour Hadi, during this critical phase. The source called on all Yemeni parties to abide by the GCC initiative and its implementation mechanisms, as well as the outcome of the national dialogue. Arab League officials condemned the relentless support of His Highness the Emir Sheikh Sabah Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah for Syrian refugees, clearly manifested in his hosting of the 3rd Donors Conference due at the end of this month. In separate statements to Kuwait news agency, the officials hoped the 3rd International Pledging Conference for the Syrian people would contribute to providing further assistance to some 12.5 million Syrian people to exceed what had been offered by donors during the first and second meetings hosted by Kuwait in 2013 and 2014. For his part, the Arab League's Secretary General, Dr. Nabil Al-Arabi, praised His Highness the Emir's humanitarian endeavours towards the Syrian people. Al-Arabi said the Arab League's honouring of His Highness the Emir last September, after the UN named His Highness as a humanitarian leader, was an evidence on the humanitarian role of His Highness the Emir in supporting the Syrian refugees. Meanwhile, the Secretary-General said he would be leading a delegation from the League's Secretariat to the March 31st Donors Conference and would give a speech about development in Syria, especially the humanitarian side of it. The Arab League Assistant Secretary-General for Political Affairs, Fadl Jawad, said His Highness the Emir was always at the forefront of providing aid to the Syrian refugees, adding that the State of Kuwait plays a massive role in the international humanitarian affairs. Jawad, who commended preparations by Kuwait for the upcoming donors meeting, hoped all donors countries contribute to alleviating the suffering of the Syrian refugees. The Arab League Assistant Secretary-General for Palestine and Occupied Arab Territories, Mohammed Sabih said Arab and Western countries were admiring Kuwait's support for the refugee issue because of its humanitarian nature, noting that His Highness the Emir is hosting this conference as a man of peace and humanitarian leader. Assistant Secretary-General for Media and Communications, Haifa Abu Ghazala, said Kuwait has been very generous not only to the Syrian people but also to the entire world, voicing hope that the upcoming conference would help improve the humanitarian conditions of the Syrians and help them return to their homes. Clashes between Yemeni security forces and armed groups in the south of the country have killed 29 people, mostly security forces. According to Yemeni officials yesterday, the clashes erupted after armed militants carried out attacks against police centres in Lahij, north of Aden. Reports added that 27 security forces were among the victims. Earlier in the day, triple bomb blasts targeted mosques crowded with worshippers in the Yemeni capital city of Sana'a, killing 142 people and wounding 351 others. The White House spokesperson, Josh Earnest, and UN Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon strongly condemned the bombings and called on all sides to peacefully solve their issues. More than 100 people were killed in Syria in 24 hours of violence after fighters from the so-called IS attacked regime troops and a suicide bomber caused carnage at Kurdish New Year celebrations. The British-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said that more than 70 members of government forces were killed when IS attacked checkpoints and other positions in the central Homs and Hama provinces. The organisation added that the IS has faced setbacks recently in the provinces of Aleppo and Raqqa and in Hasaka in confrontations with Kurds on the one hand and regime forces on the other, and are now trying to score military points, even limited ones, to offset their losses. According to reports, activists also reported shelling from forces loyal to Syria's President Bashar al-Assad in Aleppo's al-Mashhad neighbourhood yesterday. Amid the new change inside Israel's government, Palestinians in Gaza continue to suffer from several Israeli attacks and violations. More with Majd al-Wahidi from Gaza.
Israeli occupation forces continue to open fire in several areas of the Gaza Strip from across the border. Medical sources reported that 2 Palestinians were wounded in southern Gaza. Meanwhile, Palestinian farmers witnessed heavy fire in eastern Khan Yunis. Israeli forces launched smoke bombs and tear gas, which forced the farmers to leave their lands.
Last night, it was obvious escalation, military escalation from the Israeli troops against the farmers from the eastern side of the border of Gaza. At the same time, they are shooting the fishermen in the sea, which give and illustrate that the position of the Israeli troops and government want to continue for this policy, for the siege and aggression.
Followed by the victory of the right-wing parties led by Benjamin Netanyahu in the Knesset, Israeli troops stationed on the eastern border with Gaza opened fire at homes in addition to the daily attacks against fishermen and their boats. Political leaders and observers say the change in the Israeli government may lead to further escalation and military conflicts in the coastal enclave.
All options are possible. It is clear that Israel will work on 2 lines. The first line is more attacks against Gaza's population and the tightening of the siege. The other side could be the use of violence. This would mean a new explosion in Gaza. I think that there's a chance of a political resolution, but the siege will remain the same and people will continue to suffer.
It's been 8 months since Israel's Operation Protective Edge ended, which left a trail of mass destruction, displacement, and misery. As a clear political dialogue between Palestinians and Israel is still absent, Zionist forces continue to exercise military power in different forms. Many analysts believe there is no sign of a lasting ceasefire or peace deal on the horizon. With such reality, it seems that the future of peace between Gaza and Israel is reaching a stalemate. Gazans feel that the re-election of Netanyahu and his right-wing coalition doesn't mean anything. They insist that Israel's political parties are faces of the same kind of military occupation and siege. Majlou Haidi, Kuwait TV, Gaza.
At least 12 workers were killed and 15 injured when their bus plunged into a canal west of Cairo today. The accident occurred after several vehicles crashed on the road, leading the bus to plunge into the canal. According to the Ministry of Health, it was not immediately known how many passengers were inside the bus, adding that all injured passengers were shifted to nearby hospitals. Fatal road accidents are relatively common in Egypt and have often been blamed on poor driving and bad roads. Over 15,000 people die and 50,000 others are injured in road accidents in Egypt every year. Iran's President Hassan Rouhani says that progress made in nuclear talks means a final deal can be reached. President Rouhani said in the current round of talks in Lausanne, Switzerland, shared points of view emerged in some of the areas where there had been a difference of opinion. These points could become a foundation for a final agreement. US Secretary of State John Kerry also said that substantial progress had been made in the talks. 6 world powers are negotiating a deal with Iran aimed at limiting its nuclear activity with a late March deadline. Iran insists its nuclear program is for peaceful purposes, but world powers fear it has military ambitions. The Foreign Minister of China, Japan and South Korea have met for their first talks in 3 years. The meeting in Seoul is thought to have focused on ways to ease tensions over territorial and diplomatic disputes. The ministers agreed to organize a trilateral summit for their leaders at the earliest convenient time. The 3 states have strong ties, but relations still suffer from unresolved issues dating back to Japan's actions in World War II. Foreign ministers from the 3 countries last met in April 2012 for their 6th annual trilateral meetings, though it was cancelled the following year after a Japanese Prime Minister, Shinzo Abe, angered China and South Korea by visiting a shrine that honours Japan's war dead, including a number of senior war criminals. Troops from Niger and Chad discovered a mass grave with more than 70 decomposed bodies near a northern Nigerian town, recently retaken from the militant group Boko Haram. The corpses, some of them beheaded, were found in a shallow mass grave under a bridge just outside the Nigerian town of Damasak, near the border with Niger. Boko Haram has terrorized northern Nigeria regularly since 2009, attacking police, schools, churches, mosques and civilians. It has kidnapped students, including more than 200 schoolgirls who were abducted in April 2014 and remain missing. Meanwhile, Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan said the military hopes to recapture towns seized by Boko Haram within a month in what would be a swift victory after 6 years of bloody conflict. Officials have said that US security staff shot a knife-wielding man 3 times at New Orleans International Airport after he tried to storm a checkpoint. They said that the man attacked an airport security worker with wasp spray before striking another on the arm with a large knife. Police said he was unresponsive after being shot in the leg, chest and face, but was taken to a local hospital. Several bystanders were said to have been treated for minor injuries. Jefferson Parish Sheriff Newell Norman said that it was unclear whether the armed man was at the airport as a traveller or not. 10 people died in a shootout between gunmen and police officers in the western Mexican town of Ocotlan as 8 officers were wounded. Mexico's federal police said gunmen ambushed a convoy of new Gendarmerie special forces, leading to a shootout in which 5 officers, 3 armed civilians and 2 bystanders were killed. It was the deadliest shooting for Mexico's new Gendarmerie, a 5,000-strong unit modelled after European military-like forces that President Enrique Peña Nieto launched last year to protect key economic sectors from organised crime. More than 100,000 people have been killed in gang-related violence in Mexico over the past 8 years. Supported by the Ministry of State for Youth Affairs, Kuwait's Giras National Awareness Project Against Drugs launched a regional forum on the role of modern media to protect youth against narcotics. The forum is organised in cooperation between Kuwait's Ministry of Information and Menta Arabia Foundation for the Prevention of Drugs for Children and Youth. Here is more on the event in this report by Salam Al-Kandari.
Supported by Minister of Information and Minister of State for Youth Affairs, Sheikh Salman Al-Hamoud Al-Sabah, Kuwait's GRAS National Awareness Project Against Drugs organized a regional forum on the role of modern media to protect youth against drugs. Acting Under Secretary of the Ministry of Information, Faisal Mutlaqim, told the opening session on behalf of Sheikh Salman Al-Hamoud Al-Sabah that drugs pose a threat to families and the entire society with their disastrous impact and constitute a source of deep worry for policy and decision makers.
Today's event is a conference and workshops about drug prevention and the role of media and social media towards drug prevention for youth. So this initiative started between Mentor Arabia Foundation that works towards drug prevention, and GRAS program in Kuwait. This partnership yielded this conference to come up with solid and meaningful tools towards drug prevention in the Arab world. To identify the main objectives of this conference is basically to identify the most effective and positive ways to reach to youth through social media and media, because a lot of media campaigns were done about drug prevention but did not yield or give the results that were expected. Maybe they were using wrong methods or wrong tools or like fear tactics. So this conference is basically to come up with one comprehensive view and one comprehensive approach towards drug prevention in the Arab world.
The forum aimed to shed light on modern media as an effective tool for prevention of drug use, forming a network of experienced media figures to undertake the issue. From Kuwait's National Library, this is Salam Al-Kandari reporting for the English News.
Kuwait Chamber of Commerce and Industry, or KCCI, in collaboration with the Indian Embassy in Kuwait, organised the Indian Exhibition for Foods, Herbals and Handicrafts. The exhibition aimed at strengthening the bilateral relations between the two countries in different fields, as well as opening new markets for the Indian products. Heber Abdul Rahman has more details in the following report.
With the aim of bolstering the bilateral ties and relations between the State of Kuwait and India, Kuwait's Chamber of Commerce and Industry, or KCCI, held a specialized exhibition dedicated for the products of different foods, herbals and handicrafts companies.
I thank the Chamber of Commerce and Industry for organizing Indian Food and Handicrafts exhibition. This is a small effort to showcase the products which our Kuwaiti friends have known for centuries. We have brought some of the new items, which including the herbal products, which can be very effective, which can be very useful. We have a trade of turnover of about $18 billion between our two countries, but most of it is oil products. We are trying to expand our trade in non-oil category, which is about $1 billion at present. And I would like to thank deeply our friends from the Chamber of Commerce and Industry in helping us in organizing this exhibition.
This exhibition is an Indian exhibition, and the product being introduced to the public really, mostly food product and spices and garment and probably medicine, which made from herbs. We think this is a very good exhibition. It's the first time we have invited Indian exhibition in our premises as Chamber of Commerce of Kuwait, and we think this is a start for a prosperous relation with India, and our trade relation with India goes to $1,860,000,000 US dollar, and we think that this exhibition is introducing the products of India to the public in Kuwait.
A number of Indian companies and institutions participated in the exhibition with the aim of paving the way for a new markets in Kuwait for their products. Another aim for the exhibition was to strengthen and bolster the relations between the two countries that extend for hundreds of years ago.
The inauguration of today's exhibition is a new sign and evidence of the endless cooperation between the two brotherly countries, India and the State of Kuwait, on many levels, especially on the economic one. From Kuwait Chamber of Commerce and Industry in Kuwait City, I am Heba Abdurrahman reporting for English News.
For a chance to see our reports again, please visit our YouTube channel at MOI Kuwait News. That's all the news for now, but you can join us again for the news brief at 11 p.m. Before we end, here is a quick reminder of today's headlines. Kuwait condemns the terrorist bomb attack in the Bahraini village of Karana, which took place last night and injured 2 policemen. Clashes between Yemeni security forces and armed groups in the south of the country killed 29 people, mostly security forces. A spokesman for the Egyptian Ministry of Health says at least 12 workers were killed when their bus plunged into a canal west of Cairo. And troops from Niger and Chad discover a mass grave with more than 70 decomposed bodies near a northern Nigerian town, recently retaken from the militant group Boko Haram.